Does he actually have the capacity to build a marriage that lasts? Today, we're going to break down 4 clear signs that help you answer that question during the talking stage so that you're not wasting time or confusing potential with real long-term compatibility. Let's get into it.
Let's get started.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the Muslim Marriage Podcast, where we show you how to find and build a marriage that lasts as a Muslim. I'm Zahra Hassan.
And I'm AJ, and we've been married for 4.5 years.
And if you haven't already subscribed to our channel on YouTube, please do. It really helps us out. And before we get started, an announcement for the single sisters. So many women are making dua for a good husband, but they're not putting themselves in places where he can actually find them. If that's you, this is for you. Starting on May 11th, I'm hosting the Tie Your Camel Challenge, 5 days to start meeting marriage-minded men. This is a free step-by-step guided experience with me live, where I'll show you exactly how to position yourself to meet men who are as serious about marriage as you are. So we've heard about the advice to tie your camel. This is where we learn exactly how to do that. If you're interested, join the link in the description. Okay, now let's get started. This week's episode is entitled 4 Signs He Has the Capacity for a Lasting Marriage. Very interesting. What do you think it's about?
I think sign number 1, he's a Muslim man.
All right, so maybe 5 signs that he has the capacity for a lasting marriage. Do you remember, like our longtime listeners will remember that we speak a lot about the 4 C's of what you should be assessing during the talking stage, and this is for both men and women.
I do remember that episode, yeah.
Well, we talk about it a lot in multiple episodes. Do you remember what the C's were?
I do remember those episodes, yeah.
Oh, okay. So just as a review, the 4 C's of the things that you should be assessing during the talking stage, because the talking stage is meant to be a place to assess, is number 1, compatibility, number 2, capacity, 3, character, and number 4, connection. So character and connection are relatively easy to assess. Everyone's assessing connection without really thinking about it. Character, I always define it as, in the back of your mind, think to yourself, is this somebody who, if I have a child the same gender as them, would I want my child to be like them, right? So things like integrity, do they follow through, do they stay true to their word, all of these things. Where people tend to have trouble is with assessing compatibility and capacity. As for compatibility, I have created the free PDF, which is the compatibility guide, for download using the link in the description, right? If you go through that and you still have any questions, always feel free to reach out to me and I'm happy to answer those. That leaves us with capacity. So we haven't actually done an episode on capacity, and it's very important for us to do it this episode, and that's what we're going to be focusing on today.
We've usually been doing glancing blows, but now we're going to pierce the subject.
All right, exactly, actually. That's quite graphic and quite accurate. So capacity comes down to emotional availability. And if you want to really understand emotional availability, the best way to do that is by understanding emotional unavailability. For those of us who have been following along with the episodes for married people, we just completed a whole series on emotional unavailability. I highly recommend, even if you're single, to go through that, because it gives you a real window into just how much emotional labor has to be done in order to connect with your spouse if they are struggling with emotional unavailability, right? And it gives you a real deeper understanding of what emotional availability is. So I recommend, if you ever have, some time to kill, to go take a look at that series. But today we're going to be focusing on emotional availability, because that's what essentially capacity is. So how would you define emotional availability?
The ability to be emotionally available. Okay.
Yes. The sky is blue because
I guess like just being open to your partner about like your true feelings, like if you want to say thank you to them for something that they've done, that you're not necessarily shy about it, because like it's not going to be too overpowering in the lovey-dovey sense. Or if you just want to tell your spouse that you love them, that's not something that's like a fight or flight response for you.
Okay, so that's fair. In fact, you touched on, as usual, like you touched on 85% of what we're about to talk about. But let's just formalize it a little bit. So if we start with a formal definition of what emotional availability is, this is the one that I like best. It's the ability and willingness to understand your own emotions and respond to someone else's with emotional presence and not avoidance. Does that make sense? So there's two parts to that definition. It's a willingness to interact with your own emotions and a willingness to interact with other people's emotions. In this case, it's your romantic partner. And having said that, let's go through the 4 signs that a partner is emotionally available and has the capacity to build a lasting marriage. So sign number 1, they do not shy away from introspection. So this is one of those that's a little bit abstract, but I cannot stress how deeply important this is, that when you are in talking stage, to keep in the back of your mind, this person, are they comfortable? Because introspection is a skill, right? So does this person have the skill of introspection? Do you know what do you know? Can you define introspection for us a little bit?
Yeah, I guess it's the opposite of like outrospection, extrospection, exospection.
All right, probably all of the above.
Introspection. I mean, I've never really thought about defining it, but it feels like it's the ability to look inwards and critically analyze yourself, whether it's your shortcomings or your positives, right? And making a plan on how to improve upon it.
Yeah, exactly. Right? That's probably an exact definition. But just TLDR, it's just a willingness to look inside yourself, right? Just to be curious about yourself, of why you do things, though, and why you are the way you are. You remember that question that
from The Office?
From The Office, where Michael Scott, Steve Carell's character, asked Toby, "Why are you the way you are?"
I hate so much about what you choose to be.
Yes, exactly. So that is introspection, being curious about why you are the way you are and why you do the things that you do. Now, why is this important? Because you remember how we said when it comes to emotional availability, there's 2 aspects, there's 2 dimensions to that. The first dimension is being able to deal with your own emotions. And the only way to deal with your own emotions is to first be willing to look inside, to open up that Pandora's box and see what's been going on there.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we all have like a cupboard or a closet somewhere in our house, or maybe just like what's it called, that compartment in the car where you keep all the things?
Glove box?
Yeah, or a glove box, just some drawer somewhere where there's a bunch of things. It's gonna need to be cleaned out, and you're just not willing to deal with it. But emotionally, right?
Men just call that a man cave.
Okay, all right. Just the glove box?
No. No, we call it a man cave. Women call it a problem.
Well, same tomato, right?
Yeah, it's just a room that men will put all of their electronics in, or all their little doohickeys.
Yeah.
Because they might need it in the future.
Okay.
Like it's really important. It's good to be prepared.
Is this a dig because I keep taking all of the wires and putting them away?
But then the man's wife, unrelated.
Okay.
Right? The man's wife will be like, "You've got too many wires." Right? And then the man would say, I need this in the future. Like, what if one of these wires dies? I need another wire like it. I don't want to have to go to the store. I mean, the man doesn't have to go to the store. It's like, it's a whole bunch of things.
Yeah, it's just this unknown man and this unknown wife, right?
Yeah.
All right. As you can tell, this for a person who, like, it drives me crazy. It drives me crazy because it feels like they're everywhere and swallowing up my whole existence. So I'm fighting for my life when it comes to the wires.
It's only like 10 extra wires.
Oh my god. Wires aside, but this, hopefully we are starting to understand a little bit of what introspection is, right? And again, it's the first window and the first step of emotional availability. That's why it's so important. Now, how do you actually recognize it in someone else, right? How do you start to assess that during the talking stage? Well, it's going to be hard to see in the very beginning, right? In the first couple of weeks, where conversation tends to be very superficial. What's your favorite color? Do you remember what my favorite color is?
Yeah. Was it rose gold?
Ah, you got it. And yours is cyan, true cyan.
True cyan.
Yeah, or you sent me a literal video explaining your favorite color is a concept, and it would be.
Yeah.
It's not a color, it's a concept of a color.
You can't really see it unless you do an illusion with your eye.
Okay, exactly. But so those shallow conversations, relatively shallow, superficial conversations about your favorite color, how many siblings do you have, etc., there really is an opportunity to assess introspection. But during later weeks, or even as the months start to progress, when conversations start to get a little bit deeper, and in a healthy talking stage, those conversations will eventually get deeper about tell me what your childhood was like. Where did you grow up? You grew up under your mom, dad, grandmother, grandfather, aunt. Like, who raised you? What was that like? Those conversations. Then you'll start to have a little bit of a window into how easy is it for this person to look back into their past. Because that's one way to start to look into yourself, is by looking back into their past.
I do have a bit of a traumatic past there that now I prefer, when we have cereal boxes, that when we're done with the cereal, we wrap the plastic and push it down so that nothing can crawl inside. Because I've had an experience in the past.
I think
where two things crawled inside. Not in this marriage.
Yeah.
When I was a youth.
That is
true. Of only like 9 or 10 years old.
My goodness.
I went to my grandma's house, had my favorite Raisin Bran cereal.
Oh no, the other raisins.
Yeah.
Raisin Plus.
Exactly.
Raisin Bran Plus.
And there were 2 extra raisins that were not raisins.
I think you just cured me of cereal. I think I'm done with cereal now. But yeah, so a willingness to look back into their past. Another area is with respect to their previous relationships, right? So if this is somebody who was there, who has a history of, who was previously divorced, or maybe they had an engagement that didn't work out, relationships is another source of a place that can be fairly traumatic. So in general, places where there's potentially source of trauma. How easy is it for this person to talk about what it is that happened in the past and to look back into the past? How open are they to answering questions? I would always advise to, just to exercise a little bit of emotional intelligence, that if something is super painful, don't go into it, but to log that into your mind, that this might be something that introspection might be a little bit difficult for this individual. And if they're comfortable with it, sometimes you can ask the question of, oh, that's so interesting. Like, how did it feel to have gone through that, or to have done that? Or even it could be something positive. A really great talking stage question could be, can you tell me what are you most proud of? What is the thing that you're most excited to talk about, to share with somebody? And they'll tell you, and then you can say, oh, that must have been so cool. How did it feel to finally accomplish that? And they'll just that willingness to look in and to look inside themselves.
Yeah.
During those conversations, right? So this is one of those things that's a little bit subtle, and that you have to be consciously paying attention to it during those conversations where they're talking about their past or traumatic events or things that are emotion heavy, whether positive or negative.
Yeah.
Yep.
By the way, did you know that the type of men and women who blend in the most in the crowd are literally subtle. They are, right? Because you'll notice a tall person.
Yeah.
You'll notice a short person.
Yeah.
But a sub-tall person.
Yeah.
You will not notice.
Oh, sub-tall. Why did you point at me when you said short?
No, I didn't. You're
didn't?
actually quite tall.
Oh, I just imagined that?
No, yeah, I pointed at the ground.
Oh.
Oh, so you have a low self-esteem. Wow.
Pointing at the ground, aka me. Okay. All right.
I pointed at the ground and you took that personally.
I did.
Why?
I consider myself. I grew up
Don't do that.
My family is tall people.
You're tall.
Barakallah fik. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. So again, this is introspection is one of the hardest things to assess, but you get better at it with practice when you're paying attention and you're looking for it consciously, right? If it's too subtle and any of the listeners or audience would like more examples or more concrete examples, just let me know in the comments and I will come up with an analogy. Sign number 2. Sign number 2 is a willingness to take accountability, right? So this goes hand in hand with the introspection. It tends to go hand in hand with the introspection, and you will be looking for it in the same places that you look for introspection. For example, one place that accountability can be seen is when you talk about previous relationships. When you ask about, hey, so it said I saw on your profile that you were previously married. Can you tell me a little bit about that? A person is not only being introspective of describing what it was that happened, but ideally they are also not shying away from taking accountability in their part of what happened with that marriage. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So in that description, they might say something along the lines of, well, we just really drifted apart, and the things that we had in common in the beginning seemed to go away. You know, I probably took her for granted, or I probably took him for granted, and should have put more effort into that marriage than I did. But I've learned my lesson. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So in those words, you're going to be hearing introspection because they thought about it. They've thought about what it was that went wrong there, and accountability because they are accepting their part, their responsibility in that. If, on the other hand, when you ask them to tell you about the previous marriage, the conversation goes a lot like, well, honestly, she was just crazy or he was just crazy. Nothing I did seemed to make things better. And they were just, I don't know, they were just yelling. It was very traumatic. I didn't know how to make that person happy. So this might well and good be true. But again, there isn't a lot of introspection there. They're just sort of stating the facts of what it was that happened from their perspective, and there's no accountability.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or example number 3, when you ask them to tell you about the previous relationship, is they don't really want to talk about it at all. Right? Which gives you a lot of information. Number 1, introspection it's probably something they struggled with. Accountability, you don't really know because they didn't tell you. But most importantly is that this person is possibly rebounding. Do you see what I'm saying? So in that question, can you tell me about your previous relationships or previous engagement or marriage or whatever it is? You can get a lot of information, and this is 3 different signs of capacity that you are assessing at once, depending on their answer. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's sort of like when people say not answering is an answer itself.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, what's your name? It's Michael. Okay. How old are you? I'm 32. All right. Did you go to school today? I'm not going to answer that question.
It's an immediate red flag for no reason.
Especially weird because Michael's a teacher.
Yeah.
We know he didn't go to school. You know?
Or do you like ketchup with your French fries? I'm not answering that question.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened, but it's now an issue.
Yeah.
So another place where accountability might show up, especially as the weeks progress and the months progress, is if they are like little conflicts might happen during the talking stage. Like little conflicts, hopefully not big conflicts. Little conflicts like You said you were going to, talk to my father at some point, or you said that you were going to reach out at some point, or where somebody didn't follow through with their word.
Or there's that famous example that multiple people have. You said you were going to reimagine yourself when you married me.
Oh.
You said you were going to change.
Is that okay?
But I'm not talking about us.
I was going to say that's a red flag.
But that's what people go into a marriage thinking is like, I can change them.
Oh.
Right?
Yeah.
And then 2 years down the line or 3 years down the line, they're like, you haven't changed.
How dare you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You told me that you were going to reimagine yourself for me.
Yeah.
Right? You were going to become Prince Charming or Queen Charming, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, no. No, I think you thought that up, right?
Yeah.
I just said, I like you.
Yeah.
I like you enough to eventually love you.
Well, that's fair, but like just during the talking stage, so before the big commitments.
During the talking stage.
Yeah, before the commitments have happened. So smaller little the issues have happened. Issues.
Gotcha.
Yeah, like they might. I remember there was an example like that I didn't forget because it was something that I was actively looking for and paying attention to during our talking stage. You probably forgot this. I think it was in the third or fourth conversation.
Okay.
Right, where we were having a conversation about finances.
Okay.
And I was telling you about my student loan debt.
Yeah.
Or that I had at the time. And you had said that I wanted to it's going to be my debt, our debt, and I will take care of it. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
I remember that. And you were and then I was trying to tell, because you at this point were a stranger, and I don't like asking for help. It's something that I don't do. So I was telling you, no, it's okay. I got this. I have a plan for it. I'm taking care of it. It's okay. And you were a little bit insistent. And you had read my being quiet as me being upset. Yeah. So I remember the following day, when you reached out and when you called us, you said, I want to apologize. I felt like I was being very pushy and aggressive, and you were setting a boundary, and I should have respected that. I want to apologize. If you want to pay off your debt, that's fine with me. Yeah. I remember that. And it wasn't, it was the fact that it wasn't a problem for me, but it told me that you have no problem accepting accountability, because it was a complete apology, right? It wasn't one of those, I'm sorry you feel that way. Right? It was, I didn't respect the boundary. You see, there's a difference there.
Yeah.
And the fact that you were willing to make a more whole or complete apology gave me a lot of information about your willingness to accept accountability when necessary. Yeah. So during the talking stage, little opportunities will come up where an apology is warranted, sometimes from you, sometimes from them. And when that apology is given, pay attention to how it's constructed. Somebody who is more emotionally available will have no problem accepting full accountability and giving whole apologies, whereas somebody who's not completely emotionally available, right? Or somebody who has other tendencies, manipulative tendencies. Remember, manipulators have a real problem with accountability. Will do things like dismiss or minimize or distract away or blame you, right, for the issue. Do everything except actually apologize. Yeah. Right? So whenever an apology is given, this is an important place to pay attention, where you're looking for the nature and presence of real accountability. Make sense?
Sabatakala, you have a very good memory of things.
Well, yeah.
You remember a lot.
I had a lot at stake. A lot was on the line. So I was paying attention.
How does that go? The narcissist playbook. How does it go? Was it like that didn't happen, and if it did, it was your fault, and if it wasn't, things like
I was right to do it. I don't remember.
Yeah, things like that, right?
Yeah, it would, by the time they get to the bottom, they say, and if I did happen, it was your fault. Yeah. And if it wasn't your fault, well, I was right to do it anyway. I'm paraphrasing.
Yeah. They don't take accountability.
At the end of the day, it was never my fault. Is the point?
Yeah.
And it's not really Like the thing that's being apologized for is very rarely that important. What's important is the nature of the apology.
They should add to it the very last one, right? After like, and if it was a problem, I was right to do it anyway. Ow, 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 my arm. You know.
All right. So the what are the updated version?
Yeah.
2.0. Before we move on to sign number 3, right? I think it's very important to point out that when you put sign number 1, introspection, and sign number 2, accountability, they add up to something very important. Do you remember our last episode? I think it was released on the Monday of last week. The last episode for single people, where we talked about the difference between a good person and a marriage-ready person. The thing that makes the defining characteristic, the ingredient that makes a person actually ready for marriage.
Go on.
It was a willingness to deal with their own emotional baggage.
Yeah.
Right? That willingness to deal with your baggage requires 2 things, and 2 things exactly: introspection and accountability. Right? So those 2 signs we spoke about point to somebody who has the willingness to deal with their own baggage. Now, why we highlight this is because that willingness to deal with your own baggage is the final boss of emotional availability.
Yes.
Like if you follow it all the way to its endpoint conclusion, let's say emotional availability is on a spectrum, and you follow it all the way towards the pot at the end of the rainbow of emotional availability, that pot of gold is willingness to deal with your own baggage.
Yeah, but you can't eat gold.
Well, yeah, but what I'm saying is if you come across somebody, if you come across somebody and they're very, not afraid of naming what the things that they're dealing with and telling you, I'm actively working on it, that's the gold standard of emotional availability. Some signs that person has achieved that is they'll just tell you out loud. Like when you and I met, I'm not saying that I'm 100% emotionally available, but as an example, when you and I met, I asked you, what are your red flags? Yeah. Like what are the things that you would consider red flags? Yeah. And when I talked about my own red flag, I said I have a fearful, avoidant attachment insecurity. I've named it. I'm working on it. Right. I know these are the things that I tend to do. Like whenever I sense any level of rejection coming, I tend to withdraw, but it's something that I'm working on not doing. Does that make sense? So naming your own baggage, accepting accountability for it, and actively dealing with it, that's the gold standard of somebody who has the capacity to be able to build a lasting marriage. Yeah. Okay. So that's why it was important to name that here. Sign number 3, a willingness to work on improving the relationship. Right. So to deal with all of the relationshipy things. Do you remember how that would present during the talking stage?
I suppose a willingness to work on improving yourself.
Well, yeah, for sure. But like the relationship specifically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think if you work on yourself and they work on themselves, the relationship naturally improves.
Well, yes. But
I think if you have 2 perfect people, I don't think the relationship will ever fail.
You know what's happening now?
What?
You're avoiding the relationship-y talk. You're like, we don't need to talk about it. Let's focus on the self-development here and the self-development there. And
is that what's happening?
Yes, it's what's happening. So in the talking stage, the way that it'll tend to manifest is like somebody might ask to take the love language test.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like they'd say, hey,
what's your love language?
Yes, yeah. If you're not aware what it is, how would you feel about taking this test? And I'll send you a link. Yeah. Right? Or sometimes people ask about personality tests. Some people find that it's very helpful for them. The MBTI testing. There's merits to it, but that's an example of somebody who's willing to put some effort into a relationship-y thing. Another way is when you have those conversations of, what has been your favorite interaction so far? Like out of all the times that you've met with me and my family, which of the days did you like best?
Mm-hmm.
Or how do you think this talking stage is compared to previous talking stages? Or just things that are centered about the relationship itself, like as an entity. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And
I always maintain that a red flag in the love language test is someone who says that they like to receive in the acts of service and gift giving, and they like to give words of affirmation.
There are people like that.
To me, that just seems like they want to be your king.
Yeah, because it's hard. But you would be surprised. For some people, words of affirmation are much more difficult to give. It's easier for them to buy something.
Sure, but like if someone cooks you food, right? And then like gives you a foot massage, you know? And then all you say at the end of it is, good girl.
Oh,
you know?
No, don't say good girl.
It's a problem. Good
girl is a problem in any context.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
That's how you know it's a red flag.
Yeah. I would be.
Good girl doesn't sound as normal as good boy.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, you don't know the meme?
I do. No, I don't.
You know that? You don't know the meme?
I don't know the memes.
You'll figure it out. They know. You're the one who's wrong here.
Yeah. I don't know I just know that this is what's said to pets, right?
Yeah, no, that's the thing. That's the meme.
Okay.
That's the meme. It's like, hey, can you stand up for me? The person stands up. Good boy.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
That is, I think that's just a fact.
It's a humiliation ritual.
Another red flag in the talking
Thus
stage.
The meme.
Yeah. Don't. If they're doing humiliation rituals, sign off, log off.
Well, there you go.
Hopefully, but that makes sense, right? So anything that would require either conversation about the relationship or effort invested into the relationship, will signify that this person has emotional availability. Because after the talking stage and you get married, those relationship questions are not going to stop. They're actually they're going to accelerate because you need to do a lot more. You now need to do active work on your relationship when you have so much more at stake, right? I'm not just talking about the would you love me if I was a worm questions, which is in this realm. And
that's very existential.
Yes, it's in this realm, right, where somebody's just asking for reassurance. But I'm talking about all those conversations about I'm feeling very disconnected. Like when you talk about their relationship and their emotional needs, I'm feeling a little bit disconnected. How would you feel about, doing ABC to reconnect? Like those conversations. This is a precursor for that. You're going to need someone who's comfortable with those conversations later on. So you need to assess that from the jump by seeing how comfortable they are with this, like mini versions of those conversations.
Yeah.
And the examples that I give is, number one, asking if they'd be open to taking love language test, personality test, whatever, attachment style test, whatever test that you feel like is relevant. Don't overdo it, right? You don't want them to feel like they're being interrogated, but just one, maybe maximum two. Another one is in the compatibility, when you're assessing for compatibility, one of the areas that's important to assess for compatibility is affection, right? So when you're asking those questions related to affection, how comfortable are you with affection? Do you, on a scale of 1 to 10, how comfortable are you with receiving affection? How comfortable are you with giving affection? This is one of those very few questions that I think it's important to ask directly. And the way in which they're engaging with this question will give you an idea of how comfortable they are with talking about relationship-y things. Does that make sense? So that's sign number 3. We're good?
Is that 3 out of 3?
3 out of 4. One more.
Ooh, okay. Let's go. We got a long episode today.
So sign number 4, prioritizing you and allowing you into their heart. So a lot of people assess this subconsciously, right? And if you are in a talking stage with somebody and subconsciously you just have a feeling, you have an instinctual feeling that this person is really keeping you out, and they're not really prioritizing you, and they're not really letting you in emotionally, this is when you find yourself on the internet, signs that he actually wants to be with me, signs he's about to leave, and you're trying to find information from external resources about what's going on in your relationship. So this is something that people know instinctively, particularly those of us who have attachment insecurities. We're very, very sensitive to this. But if we spell it out a little bit more concretely so that you know what to look for on a conscious level, the person, like I keep referring back to his work, is because his work is very comprehensive, and I think it works really well.
What's his name?
Gottman, right? It's very comprehensive. If there's one book that you read in preparation for marriage, I recommend you read his book. I think it's called The 7 Principles That Make a Marriage Work.
He goes by just the surname of Gottman?
Yeah, it says The 7 Principles for Making Marriage Work.
Is this the only guy by Gottman?
Well, him and his wife.
Oh, the Gottmans.
Yeah, her name is Julie, I think. But if you would read one book, I recommend that one, right?
Sorry, I just thought of a joke.
Okay, so
no, I'm not going to tell it.
We're not going to tell? We're going to hold on to it?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, I'll tell you. You got me. All right, I got. All right, so the Gottmans, right? Julia Gottman. Mm-hmm. No, I can't tell the joke.
Okay.
I can't tell the joke.
Well, you got me. All right. So he talks a lot about this concept called the sound relationship house, right? Which is what it sounds like. But if I were to summarize it in my own words, it's basically saying friendship. If you build a good friendship with somebody, that marriage is more likely to succeed, right? So one of the ways in which you can sense whether or not somebody's allowing you into their heart is, and if they're prioritizing you, right? Like that they're opening themselves up to allow you to become an important person to them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So the way that you can sense that is if they're starting to tune into you. So let me give an analogy. If somebody gets a pet, we'll say a cat, a little kitten that you found somewhere who needs your help. You bring this kitten home and you now have to care for it. And because of the immense amount of care that it needs, and you've never taken care of a kitten before, you're hyper vigilant, right? You're paying attention. Is it scared? Is it happy? Is it cold? Is it hungry? How often should I be feeding it? You're super tuned in to what's going on with this kitten. Now, I'm not saying to that same extent, but when you meet somebody in any context and that person is starting to become an important, you're opening up your heart to allow them space inside your heart, you're intuitively, you are tuning into them and tuning into their needs, right? And what's going on with them and their day and how they're feeling. And signs of this will simply be if you mention, that you were sick the previous week, you had lactose intolerance or whatever it was. This week, they might ask you, how are you feeling, right? Or next week when they go out with you and your family member to some coffee shop, they'll automatically ask for almond milk instead of dairy milk in that drink that they bring you, because they know they're tuned into the fact that you're now lactose intolerant, right? So it's that tuning, it's that paying attention.
You know how I'm feeling right now?
No.
I'm feeling restless. I got to tell the joke.
Okay, go for it.
It's such a bad joke, but I can't move on until I tell it.
Go for it.
Julia Gottman.
Okay.
Before she got married, right? Her family was always wondering when she's going to get married, right? They're like, oh my God, she needs to get married. Finally, she got married, and they're like, oh my God, Julia finally got a man.
There you go.
It's such a bad joke.
Do we feel better?
Yeah, we feel better.
I feel so much better. Okay. So that tuning in, right? And that paying attention. Another concept that he talks a lot about is bids for attention, right? Bids for attention, the turning towards your spouse. Or turning towards your partner. So do you remember we talked about it before? There was that trend that was going around on TikTok where people would say to their partner, hey, I saw a bird today.
Oh.
And then the The test was
Tell me about it.
Exactly. The test was to look at the other partner and see what they did. As a matter of fact, I think, okay, we don't really swear, but I remember one partner just said "F you" and that bird. It was very aggressive.
Why?
Because he was very upset, right? He did turn towards her because he talked about the bird, but he just said he was very upset. But
he turned towards her emotionally, but he was still looking straight ahead.
He acknowledged the fact that she spoke about this bird.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas somebody who would turn away from that, they wouldn't respond at all, or they'd be like, anyway, this happened today at work.
Or they'll say, that's nice.
Yeah, exactly. Just something to sort of shut down that conversation.
Yeah.
So whenever I remember this, I remember that guy. It makes me laugh. Anyway, those little bids for attention, you'll notice them if you pay attention during the talking stage, where you mention little things and they'll want to know about it.
Mm-hmm.
And during the honeymoon stage, people are very good about this. We're very good about paying attention to every single bid for attention.
Mm-hmm.
And as the honeymoon stage wears off, we're like, this person needs way too much attention. But it's one of those signs that this person is letting you into their heart and is prioritizing you, right? So hopefully that makes sense. If we just review very quickly, sign number 1, that this person is introspective, and the place to pay attention to those is when they speak about big emotion things, whether those are negative emotions like traumas or positive emotions like accomplishments. Whenever he speaks about something that has big emotion attached to it, you can ask them questions and see his willingness to explore this big emotion event. Sign number 2 is accountability. So apologizing to you if something has happened during your talking stage, or when he reflects back on places where with accountability, such as with a previous marriage, if he volunteers, this is what I could have done better, right? Sign number 3 is their willingness to work on the relationship itself, on improving the relationship. So in the talking stage, there's like many little versions of that you can pay attention to, but that's going to come up a lot during marriage. But in the talking stage, it's when you're asked to do little tests, to like the love language quiz or the attachment style quiz, whatever it is that you think is important, if they're willing to put in that effort, or when you're having that conversation specifically about affection and their comfort around affection, and I talk about what to ask specifically in the compatibility guide that you can download from the link in the description. That's when you pay attention to their willingness to work on the relationship. And sign number 4 is their willingness to prioritize you and let you into their heart. And the way that you'll know that that's happening is if they're tuning into you and tuning into what's going on with you, your day. You know, they're forming those love maps that Gottman talks about. And also if they're tuning in terms of bids for attention, are they responding to your bids for attention? Right? Hopefully that's clear. These are the 4 signs that you can use to assess for capacity during the talking stage. If there's any questions about any of those things or anything was unclear, feel free to ask that question in the comments below, and I'll be happy to answer it. You look like you have another comment.
Where
or
do you
joke.
think that I am on the emotional availability?
I think that if it's on a spectrum, I think that you're just short of maxed out.
Where do you think I could improve?
I think that you're doing better than I am. If I'm being perfectly honest, I think that you are more emotionally available than I am. But the important thing is that we're both trying to improve. Like the fact that you asked the question, where could I improve, speaks to the fact that you're quite emotionally available, tabarakallah. Right? But it's something that it's something that it's like a lifelong quest.
Yeah.
Do you remember from, is it calculus? Now I'm thinking back into decades back into grade 11, grade 12 when we talk about calculus.
Yeah.
Where you have those some lines on the graph approaching the limit, never quite reaching it.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Like let's say if it's 4, it's forever trying to reach 4, but it's never quite infinitely trying to reach 4, but never quite reaching
What is it? What do they call that? Quadratic?
I don't remember. Like it's so there's words.
Logarithmic?
Probably something. The limit is approaching 4 or whatever it is. That sentence.
Yeah.
Ironically, I did very well in calculus, but I immediately forgot all the information.
Yeah, I mean,
I walked out and I didn't know any of it anymore.
School just teaches you how to do research primarily.
Yeah, there's internet now. We're good.
Yeah.
But that it's like that, right? So if there is a point that is you've arrived at complete emotional availability, nobody is there, but we're all just working towards it, and some of us are ahead of others, right? So during the talking stages, that you're looking for someone who is not standing still, somebody who is walking towards becoming as emotionally available as they possibly can be.
Yeah.
That's the gist of what you're looking for. And the gold standard of that person is in that category is someone who is actively willing to deal with their own emotional baggage.
Yeah.
Who has,
even if that requires them looking silly to other people.
Oh yeah, for sure.
For example, if everyone's walking and people are trying to compete on how to walk the fastest somewhere, right?
Yes.
But they're not allowed to physically walk faster because they're not physically able to. They got to find techniques on how to make it so that they are moving more distance but walking the same speed. A person who is trying to get more emotionally available might decide to put wheels on a treadmill.
Okay.
A battery-powered treadmill. So that way, technically, they are walking the same speed, but the treadmill is just going fast. It's zooming.
Yeah.
And they're going to look silly.
Yeah.
You know? Because why are you on a treadmill that's moving when you could just be on a treadmill at home?
I think this is one of those places where we took an analogy too far.
Did it start off too far, or did I take it too far?
I think it started off too far and then it just zoomed right past.
It started off ridiculous.
Yes.
And it's making its way towards that upper limit.
Right?
But it's never going to reach.
Let's quit while we're ahead.
Yeah.
So hopefully that makes sense. In Shaa Allah, if there is an episode that I recommend more than any other episode for people who are single, I would say it's this one.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, there's a joke.
Sorry, I just thought of something funny myself.
All right, go ahead. Do you want to?
All right.
You
actually want to share it?
Yes, share it with the class.
Okay, fine. It's all right. Fine, I'll say it. 2 knights get into a battle. Oh. Right.
Okay.
One of them loses his head, and he says, "Wait. Let's just quit while we're ahead."
That was worth it. I like it. And on that lovely note, if there are, if you have made it this far in the episode, we really appreciate you choosing to spend your time with us, despite all of our silliness. Inshallah, I hope you were able to benefit something from this. If you are a single woman and you are wondering about how exactly you're supposed to tie your camel when it comes to looking for a husband, I consider the Tie Your Camel Challenge. The link for that will be in the description below. It will be on May 11th. And again, if you are looking for some help on how to actually assess compatibility, the link for the free PDF, the compatibility guide, will be also in the description below. If you haven't subscribed to our channel on YouTube, please do consider subscribing, even if you're on a different podcast format. It really, like, you guys know how algorithms work. It would really help us out. And I think that's everything. So, Jazaa K'Allah Khayr. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode. Stay safe wherever you are. And Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.